Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my Endless Diary Tales channel? Thank you so much. On the day I turned 26, Lawrence and I finally had a physical relationship. The next day, I endured the soreness in my waist and the pain, and continued to work for him, but my heart was as sweet as if I had eaten honey. After years of dedication, he had finally turned around and noticed me. However, this flutter in my heart came to an abrupt halt after I overheard his conversation with his brothers. "Lawrence, when we praised your taste before, you said our taste was bad. Why did you end up having a fling with her yourself? You used to protect her so much. Can we have a turn now?" These unruly young men from wealthy families couldn't say anything decent, but I never expected that Lawrence's next words would make me feel as if I had fallen into an icy cellar. "If you don't mind touching my second-hand goods, go ahead. Anyway, the only woman I consider my wife in my heart is Gina." Lawrence's words instantly made me freeze in place. I couldn't feel the existence of my limbs and was unable to move, and the conversation in the private room continued. "Didn't you say that Assistant Summer wasn't your type?" I was drunk. "At first I thought it was Gina," Lawrence said regretfully. "Then what?" I asked. Then when I realized it was her, I almost lost my erection immediately. In an instant, the private room erupted in laughter because of Lawrence's words. "Come on, Assistant Summer is so good-looking and has a great figure too. TSK, yeah, the shirt she usually wears makes it seem like the buttons are about to burst. Lawrence, do you think she had a plan all along and was wearing them just for you? Who knows? Later, she was really proactive, always pestering me and sticking to me, so I gave in. She was in a hurry. She even wanted to sleep with me without any protection." I was filled with rage inside. I wanted to shout that it wasn't like that, but my lips were trembling with anger, and I couldn't make any sound. In the midst of my heartbreak, a pair of warm hands covered my ears, shielding me from all the sounds around. I looked up and found it was President Felix, Lawrence's recent business partner. I lowered my head in shame, avoiding his hand and trying to leave. Felix, however, handed me a handkerchief. I took it and touched my cheek. Before I knew it, I was already in tears. "Thank you. I'm sorry for making you laugh." I then let out. I flattened and hid in an empty private room of the clubhouse, covering my mouth and crying silently. After graduating from university, I joined Lawrence's company as his assistant. He was meticulous and decisive at work. As a newbie in the workplace, I fantasized about becoming someone standing at the top of the pyramid like him. Gradually, I also started to hope that I could stand by his side, but there was a huge gap between him and me. He was from a wealthy family while my family was poor. Everything I have now was the result of my hard work over the past few years, and their conversation just now shattered all my self-esteem. These rich kids just look down on those who try their best but still can't reach their level. I thought Lawrence was different from them, and last night was the result of our growing affection over time. Now I know that his initiative was all because he mistook me for someone else. Now I understand the reason why he suddenly froze last night. At that time, I mistakenly thought he was shy, so I shamelessly leaned in and offered myself. Turns out that I'm the clown. Just when I didn't know how to end the day, a message notification came from my phone. It was from Lawrence. President F said he was not feeling well. Is it because of last night? Suddenly, the previous message was recalled. Lawrence continued. "Then you can go back and rest first. If you're still not feeling well tomorrow, take a leave of absence." I didn't have the mood to reply to him, but at the top, it still showed that the other party was typing. After a while, his message finally came through. "By the way, remember to buy that medicine and take it. Be good." Then Lawrence transferred 100 to me. My tears seemed to flow endlessly when I saw this transfer. I finally closed my eyes in disappointment. He didn't need to tell me. It's the rising period of my career now. I had already taken the medicine myself when he left this morning. In the bathroom, my eyes were already swollen from crying. I scrubbed and rubbed my skin vigorously under the water, trying to wash away all the traces Lawrence had left. This morning, I was still reluctant to wash the bed sheets that smelled of him. After being his assistant for so many years besides work, Lawrence also relied on me in his daily life. I prepared his breakfast every morning, and he could only get used to the coffee I made. I helped him choose the style of suit to wear when attending important occasions. Sometimes he would be lazy and ask me to tie his tie. He would stare at me playfully until I blushed with shyness. Among all the assistants in the president's office, I was the only one who fulfilled my session. The chief assistant had the permission to do these things for him. I always thought that he had feelings for me in his heart, but he just hadn't realized it yet. Last night it was true that I took the initiative to take the final step, but was his passion fake? After the first time he pulled me into his arms and we made love again and again, he held me tightly and didn't want to part. We didn't fall asleep until dawn broke, and we were exhausted. I can't understand. Since he doesn't like me, why did he go all the way with me? Just thinking that when we reached the peak together, he was thinking of another woman in his mind. I'm on the verge of a breakdown. In the continuous flow of water, I hugged myself and slowly slid to the ground. At this moment I feel so cheap and in extreme pain. My head aches as if it's going to split open. I raised my hand and slapped myself hard. When I walked out of the bathroom, I was much more sober. There's nothing wrong with me loving someone, and it's not shameful for me to strive for a better life. The mistake is that this relationship is one-sided. And now I'm going to take back all my love and dedication and make new plans for the future. As I was thinking this, a message from Felix popped up on my phone. He sent me a video after I left the private room, which was still filled with joy and laughter. Someone just to stir up trouble actually called Gina. Of course, it was definitely to make fun of me. After all, Gina is a wealthy young lady from their circle. She has been doted on since she was a child. I hadn't completely let go yet, so I couldn't help but click on the video. In the video, Gina seemed very angry, and Lawrence, who is always aloof and noble, was coaxing her. Lawrence's brothers beside him were also speaking up for him. Gina, don't worry. Lawrence has always liked you. Gina was angry. Then why did you let that little assistant climb into your bed? My breath caught in my throat. Was this matter really going to be made known to everyone? Lawrence lowered his head to soothe her. I was drunk, Gina. Don't you not like me? So why are you jealous? Gina was stumped and became a bit angry out of embarrassment. The people beside them took the opportunity to egg them on and help them get closer. Lawrence went all out and grabbed Gina's hand, fully kissing her. Some people around even started screaming. At first, Gina resisted and slapped Lawrence. Finally, the slapping hand rested on Lawrence's shoulder and turned into a hug. The video was long, but I didn't have the courage to watch the end. I dragged the progress bar. The two of them moved from the center of the seat to the dim corner of the private room. Finally, I fulfilled my obsession. Lawrence picked up Gina and walked out directly. I also exited the video. My heart raced several times. My intimacy with Lawrence not only became a topic of conversation for everyone, unexpectedly, it also became a catalyst for his relationship with other women. It's extremely disgusting. I'm not sure whether Felix, who sent me the video, is a friend or an enemy. Is he giving a kind reminder or just mocking me out of bad taste? As if he knew what I was thinking, Felix sent a message. Did you finish watching it? I didn't mean to disgust you. I just wanted you to see things more clearly. I still replied to him. Maybe he really didn't have any malicious intentions. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. So what are you going to do next? Felix asked. After thinking for a moment, I replied, I'm going to resign, but please keep it a secret for me first. Okay? Do it as soon as possible. I was indeed curious about why Felix wanted to help me, but at this moment I didn't have the energy to ask or socialize anymore. I slumped on the sofa and started planning in my mind. Lawrence had given me the power to make the final decision regarding the movement of important personnel in the company. I immediately opened my laptop and prepared to write my resignation letter on the desktop. The laptop was densely packed with files, all traces of my hard work in the company. They were the fruits of my labor over countless days and nights, but all these couldn't wash away the prejudice in those people's hearts about family background and social status. Among them was Lawrence. There was a document about him which recorded all his likes and dislikes. Without any hesitation, I threw that document into the trash bin. After submitting my resignation application in the personnel system, I started tidying up my home. Over the years, Lawrence had given me a lot of gifts, from famous brand handbags to small items like teacups and tableware for my home. If he hadn't responded to my feelings intentionally or unintentionally, and shown me with his actions that our relationship was more than just a simple working relationship, I wouldn't have been so silly as to be infatuated with him for so many years. After packing up all the gifts, I finally lay on the bed with a sense of relief. I closed my eyes, wanting to end this tiring day. However, even though I had already changed into clean bed sheets, my thoughts couldn't help but wander. Just last night, there were still two young and attractive bodies entangled on this bed, chaotic and warm breaths being exhaled. I think I not only need to resign but also move house and completely cut off my ties with the past. The process of withdrawal is fast and painful. In the early morning, when Lawrence came to work, I was already sitting at my workstation and working. After all, I usually have the busiest workload, and it's not easy to hand over my tasks one by one to others. When Lawrence passed by my workstation, he looked at me with a bit of surprise, then withdrew his gaze and walked into his own office. But shortly after he went in, he came out again and tapped lightly on my desk. "Come in for a moment." When I entered Lawrence's office, he looked at his empty tea table with a puzzled expression. There was no breakfast I had prepared on it. As soon as I understood the reason for Lawrence's confusion, I seriously made a suggestion to him. "President Lawrence, I think you need to hire another personal assistant. I won't do anything that has nothing to do with my regular job from now on." Lawrence didn't notice the distance in my tone. Instead, he showed concern. "What's wrong? Are you still not feeling well? If you're not feeling well, take a leave and rest." After saying that, Lawrence added to me in a slightly ambiguous tone, "You have this privilege now. If I hadn't overheard those hurtful words he said last night, I would definitely be extremely happy at this moment." Lawrence must also think that I'm about to be dazzled by his overbearing doting, but now that I know his true colors, I just feel disgusted. I even feel a bit nauseous and want to vomit. Seeing my weak and haggard appearance, Lawrence couldn't help but reach out his hand to touch my face. I instinctively took a step back in disgust. "What's wrong?" Lawrence frowned. "With you it seems like I'm forcing you. Are you angry that I didn't send you home last night? You've been by my side for so many years. You should understand that I'm busy with social engagements. I won't give you special treatment and send you home in the future. You have to get used to it." He said everything as if it were only natural, as if he had naturally regarded me as his possession and was freely dominating me. "President Lawrence, what do you mean by in the future?" I deliberately played dumb. The next second, Lawrence's gaze filled with judgment fell on me. "Stop pretending. Being my woman is what you've always dreamed of, isn't it?" Just then, Lawrence's phone rang. After answering the call with a serious expression, he prepared to go out. Before leaving, he said to me earnestly, "Summer, I don't like the trick of playing hard to get. As long as you're good, we can continue as we were that day back at my workstation." Even though I was already prepared to have a showdown with him, my heart still felt cold when I heard those words. It turned out that he had known I liked him for a long time. I thought I had hidden it well. That's right. Standing next to a blazing fire, who wouldn't feel it? After gathering my thoughts, I opened my phone and prepared to order myself breakfast. After all, the body is the capital of the revolution. While waiting, I instinctively scrolled through my WeChat moments. The latest update was from Gina. I have her contact information because she added me on her own initiative. At that time, she said she admired me as a strong woman who was willing to go all out in everything, and had finally managed to squeeze into their circle through hard work. She said she wanted to learn from me, and use the same approach to take over her family business in the future. Now, I can't help but wonder if her words back then were secretly mocking the class gap between us. Gina posted a picture of her breakfast. The table was filled with a variety of breakfast items. Sitting opposite her was a man in a suit. His face was cropped out, but I could tell at a glance that the man was Lawrence, who had just left not long ago. Gina captioned it, "The one who insisted on not having breakfast has surrendered to health and started having breakfast. The nanny made so much today that I can't finish it at all with just one phone call." Someone who had already arrived at the company immediately flashed to my house to have breakfast with me. P.S. I complain he looks a bit old-fashioned with this tie. And he looks like my dad. He doesn't admit it. What do you guys think? Lawrence didn't have the habit of having breakfast. Before, I was worried that he would get a stomach problem, so I pestered him for a long time before he agreed to have a little bit every day. That tie was also bought by me for him. I picked it out for him when I received my first-year bonus. This was also the first blurry item I bought in my life. When Lawrence asked me to put it on him personally, I I was delighted for several days during the moment of recollection. Gina commented under this post again, someone has admitted that the tie is old-fashioned and has taken it off and thrown it away. Seeing this comment, I immediately turned off the screen of my phone. My heart didn't stir up any weights anymore. I might as well consider the feelings of these few years as something I wasted on a dog. What I need to do now is to resign and get away as quickly as possible. When it was almost time to get off work, I received a message from Felix. Are you free tonight? There's a banquet. I wonder if I have the honor of inviting you to be my female companion. After all, I owe Felix a favor. After thinking about it, I agreed. In the evening, I wore a proper dress and went to the banquet on Felix's arm. In the past, as the chief assistant, I was Lawrence's exclusive female companion, therefore I was very comfortable in such occasions. In the middle of the banquet, Felix temporarily left to answer a phone call. I was eating the snacks on the table alone. In the past, I always stayed highly alert by Lawrence's side and never really savored these delicacies. Thinking about it this way, I really missed a lot because of him. After eating one piece, I reached out my hand to take another piece when a harsh voice came. Why are you here? I turned my head and saw it was Gina. She was wearing a white dress today. I looked down and indeed we had the same color. I didn't say anything, and Gina thought I was feeling guilty. I'm Lawrence's female companion today. You didn't chase him all the way here, did you? Sister Summer, can you have a bit of self-esteem? You can't squeeze into our circle. Lawrence is just playing with you. You didn't really take it seriously, did you? Facing Gina's taunts, I wasn't affected at all. I just sneered. Your circle? What kind of circle is it? The circle of arrogance? The circle of spoiled brats. Gina didn't expect me to scold her so directly. As a second-generation rich kid, she who was always sought after blushed instantly, and her eyes also turned red. Apologize. Lawrence's stern and low voice came. Otherwise, I'll ask the security guards to escort you out. I pursed my lips tightly and my throat felt dry. This was the first time Lawrence had embarrassed me in public. Seeing my incredulous and hurt expression, Lawrence couldn't help but soften his tone. Summer, this isn't the place for you to cause trouble today. Gina is my female companion. You should also have a limit to your possessiveness towards me. People can't even empathize with their former selves. Now looking at the self-absorbed man in front of me, I really wonder why I used to love him so much. Gina, looking pitiful, leaned on Lawrence's shoulder. Brother Lawrence, if she wants to be your female companion so much, then I'll leave. However, if my family finds out about this, they'll scold me for losing the family's face. Lawrence looked at me impatiently. Summer, since you're not willing to apologize, you can. Our commotion was getting louder and louder, and many people had already noticed us. I felt embarrassed and my blood rushed to my head. I'm not strong enough now, and no one will help me. I stood there looking at the two of them with unwillingness. Why should she leave? Felix, who had just finished his phone call, arrived late and came to my rescue. Hearing Felix's words, Lawrence frowned and explained, President Felix, I'm managing my employee. Please don't interfere. Felix smiled but replied, It's off-duty time now. After a moment of contemplation, Felix continued, I think my female companion doesn't have to listen to her boss's discipline anymore. Right? Your female companion? Lawrence was very puzzled. Felix nodded, then put his hand on my waist as if declaring his sovereignty. He held me and was about to leave. Excuse me. Lawrence stared fixedly at the hand on my waist, a position that only he could touch in the past. But the occasion today was really too grand, and he couldn't lose his temper. He let Felix take me away. Come on, I'll introduce you to some people, Felix said to me. I thought he was just going to introduce his friends to me, but to my surprise, Felix introduced me to his business partners. Lawrence never let me have access to these resources in the past. At the banquet, he just asked me to chat with the female companions of those CEOs. Under Felix's guidance, I became very talkative tonight. Those years as a chief assistant weren't in vain. I already had a lot of my own opinions on business operations. Surprisingly, many people agreed with my ideas. In one night, I exchanged quite a few business cards. Felix just quietly echoed and praised me beside me. It seemed that I was the protagonist tonight, and his presence was to set me off. After it was over on the way back, Felix sent me home. "When are you going to resign?" he asked. "I've already submitted the application, and it's going through the process. After this night, I've determined that Felix is a friend, not an enemy. But you seem to be in a hurry." I originally wanted to joke and tease him, but unexpectedly, Felix looked at me seriously. "I'm really in a hurry, I need you." His words made it hard for me to respond, and the car fell silent. After a while, the car drove downstairs to my house. After a brief goodbye, I went home. The moment I took out the key and opened the door, a tall black shadow covered me, and a force pushed me into the house. I was pinned against the door, and my waist hurt from the impact. The person ignored everything and pressed against me, and hot breath sprayed directly on my neck. "Lawrence, what are you going crazy for?" I roared as I pushed Lawrence away. He still smelled of alcohol. Lawrence sneered mockingly. "What's wrong? Have you found President Felix as your backer and don't want to play with me anymore? You used to be happy for a long time just because I touched you a little bit." His contemptuous tone made my heart ache. I have nothing with him, but Lawrence still didn't give up and insisted on humiliating me. Me to the lowest point. "If you have the ability, go and be Felix's. Let's see how long you can survive in this cutthroat workplace without my support. How long do you think Felix will play with you before getting bored?" In the face of his unreasonable questioning, I couldn't help but feel my eyes well up with tears. Seeing that I remained silent, Lawrence began to use both soft and hard tactics. "Summer, I know you're doing this because you don't want to see me with Gina, but there's no other way. If you want to be with me, you have to put up with this. However, I promise that you'll have everything she has in the future." I just felt disgusted by his promise. It turned out that his love could be divided into so many parts. Finally, I hadn't fulfilled my role. Lauren said, "I hope you can think clearly about what I said tonight, and we can make up and go back to the way we were tomorrow." I continued to stay silent and watched him leave with a dark face. At last, after he left, I gasped heavily and slid down to the ground. Fortunately, this time I was determined and didn't shed any tears. I carefully recalled what Lawrence had said. He probably still thought of me as a newbie who needed to be protected under his wings. I still remember when I first attended a business dinner. I sat beside him, and when clients came to offer a toast, I would be so nervous and not know how to deal with it. However, after several years of rapid growth, I'm no longer the little girl who used to get stage fright. It's also imaginable that Lawrence had never noticed my growth over the years. He had never cared about those achievements that I had once been complacent and proud of. This time I was even more determined to leave. In the following days, seeing my tough attitude, Lawrence also started to handle things strictly according to the rules, and sometimes he even deliberately ignored me. He gave the projects that were originally mine to other people in the president's office to do. I didn't care either. After all, I was resigning, and of course, the fewer tasks I had at hand, the better. Felix also seemed to have disappeared from my life, and everything was getting back on track until Gina's arrival. When I went to work today, Lawrence led Gina, who was wearing a professional suit, up to me. "Gina will start working as my assistant today. You're to show her the ropes." After going through the withdrawal period for so many days, I was already indifferent inside. "Yes, why the president?" Seeing that I showed no emotional reaction, Lawrence took a few more glances at me and finally returned to his office, looking a bit angry. Gina beside me leaned towards me. "Sister Summer, I'm here as an assistant to learn from Brother Lawrence how to do business. I hope you can teach me without holding any grudges." I gave her a polite smile in response. "Of course," then let out a low sigh. Gina greeted the colleagues in the president's office one by one with small gifts. She acted just like the mistress of the place. Gina turned to her seat. No one dared to assign her any tasks, so she had nothing to do and started browsing the shopping app as if no one else was around. During the lunch break, Gina went to the tea room and found me again. "I heard that Brother Lawrence really likes the coffee you make." There was nothing to hide, so I nodded and said, "If you want to learn, I can teach you." After the lunch break, I opened the resignation system and found that all the procedures had been completed. It was just the last step, the president's confirmation. Finally, I fulfilled my duty. I took out the resignation letter that had been in the drawer for a long time just as Lawrence returned to his office. Soon after, he called me in. Lawrence looked at the cup of coffee on the table with some surprise and asked, "Have you thought it through?" I sneered. "I have thought it through." As I spoke, I handed him the resignation letter. After Lawrence saw what was in it, he remained silent for a long time before saying, "Summer, how long are you going to keep making a fuss?" "I'm not making a fuss, I'm serious. The resignation procedures have all been completed. All that's left is for President Lawrence to click the confirmation. Where can you go without me?" Lawrence looked at me defiantly. In the past, when faced with such suppression, I might have doubted myself, but at this moment I remembered the banquet that day. I had received countless offers, and many business cards were still at my home. The sky is high and the birds can fly freely. Besides, this cup of coffee was made by your beloved Gina. After saying that, I left. When I returned to my workstation, I started packing my things. Many colleagues noticed and came to show their concern. I didn't explain too much, but I also received a lot of blessings from my colleagues. Finally, I sighed as I walked out of the company. Tears still streamed down my face. Over the past few years, Lawrence wasn't the only reason I stayed. I spent an important turning point in my life here, and I also had many glorious moments of my own here. Now it's time to say goodbye. Sitting in the taxi on the way back, I received a message from Felix after a long time. It was a document. When I opened it, it was an introduction to a company that had just been established not long ago. "Are you interested in being my business partner?" Felix asked me. Felix came to me sincerely and told me about his plan. He intended to break away from his family's control and start his own business. He recognized my work and social skills, and I was interested in the platform and the status of a business partner that he offered. We hit it off immediately. After that, our company thrived. I had my own team and got to know many business partners. I found that when people have the right to speak in business dinner occasions, no one dares to make you the target of ridicule anymore. After knowing that I don't drink alcohol, no one will rashly come up to offer a toast. Gradually, I no longer thought of Lawrence, nor did I think of that period of humble dedication, sitting in the private room of the clubhouse, drinking juice and listening to music. I realized how dull and boring my past life had been. How narrow the world was when I used to revolve around just one person. The sky is high and the birds can fly freely. I was naive before, only wanting to be the canary that Lawrence kept in a cage. Occasionally, having fulfilled my wish, I would hear news about Lawrence and Gina at the dinner table. It was said that Gina was going to have an arranged marriage, and the person she was going to marry was actually not Lawrence. Gina's family intended to expand their business overseas, and wanted her to marry a wealthy young man from Hong Kong. As for her previous boast that she would inherit the family business, there were many capable younger generations in the family, and she didn't stand a chance. So the relationship between Lawrence and Gina fizzled out. When people talked about this as a joke at the dinner table, I remained silent, but in my heart, I couldn't help but think that what Lawrence once said, "The only woman I consider my wife in my heart is Gina," was just a whim after all, and in the end, he still had to yield to reality. I didn't stop receiving messages from Lawrence later, but as soon as a call came through, I would immediately block and delete his number. However, the business pie in this city is only so big. I still met Lawrence at a bid for a piece of land. At that time, I was no longer his assistant. I stood together with my own young and tall male assistant. Lawrence came over to greet me. "President Summer," I smiled calmly in response. "President Lawrence, long time no see." "Yeah, having fulfilled by exertion, it's been a long time. How have you been recently?" I chatted with him generously. "I'm doing great. How about you?" "I'm not doing well." Lawrence wanted to continue, but at this time the host started speaking, and I quickly motioned for Lawrence to be quiet. Then I met Al. Sorry, I devoted myself to the bidding work. I didn't know the purpose of Lawrence's company's bid, but this bid was an important step for my company with Felix to move up. I had to win the bid. With this in mind, I carried this determination until the end, waiting for the result to be announced. When I was resting alone in the lounge, Lawrence came to me again. I dealt with him wearily. "What's the matter, President Lawrence?" Lawrence no longer hid his feelings and called me pitifully. "Summer, without you by my side, I find that none of the people below can do things to my satisfaction." I put on an official smile to soothe him. "It takes time to train a capable assistant, President Lawrence. I believe you can do it. I can't, Summer. Come back to me, please. I was wrong. I took a deep breath, trying to send him away. You're not wrong, President Lawrence. I left for my personal career development, and it has nothing to do with you. You know I'm bidding for this piece of land to build an amusement park. Didn't you always complain that there's no fairy tale world in this city where you can put aside all your troubles? No, I'll build one for you. Is that okay? I was a bit surprised by Lawrence's sudden show of affection, but I still remained calm and tried to persuade him. President Lawrence stopped joking. Seeing that I was indifferent to his heartfelt confession, Lawrence became a bit angry out of embarrassment. What drug did Felix give you that you want to follow him? You're using the skills I taught you to do business. Do you think you're being grateful to me? I didn't want to have a complete falling out with Lawrence, but it seemed that I couldn't even maintain the last bit of courtesy. Now I raised my head and looked at Lawrence firmly. I said word by word, I have my own career. I left your company following the normal procedures, and I have taken care of all the work that needed to be handed over. The last step was even confirmed by you personally. Have you forgotten that, President Lawrence? I took a deep breath. Lawrence, you know in your heart, do you really need me to come back and be your assistant? You want me to work with you during the day and sleep with you at night, don't you? Lawrence's face turned pale. What are you talking about? Didn't we have a relationship out of mutual consent? Did I force you that day? It wasn't pleasant for me to uncover the past again. I always automatically ignored this humiliating memory. This time I wanted to remove the rotten flesh and clean it up completely. So with stubborn eyes I looked at Lawrence and said word by word. It's true that I took the initiative because I liked you. I had liked you for a long time. So when you suddenly got close to me that day, I was very happy. I continued maliciously. But I didn't expect you to lose your erection so quickly. I was so infatuated at that time that I took the initiative to lean in. Now every time I think about it, I'm glad that I don't like you anymore. Lawrence didn't expect me to bring this matter out in the open. His face turned from white to red, and he was so angry that he could hardly catch his breath. What's wrong with me? I continued to expose him. You clearly knew that the newly graduated little assistant liked you. Instead of correcting the situation, you kept sending her ambiguous signals. As a superior leader, how much better are you? After all, neither of us owes the other. We'll meet again in the future, and we each rely on our own abilities. After saying these words, I walked out of the lounge neatly. At this moment, I felt unexpectedly relaxed and refreshed. I had just walked a few steps out when I saw Felix leaning against the wall. Felix didn't say anything, but he just gave me a thumbs up. The emotions that I had suppressed just now started to well up a bit. When I saw someone on my side, I thanked him. Tears welled up in my eyes without my realizing it, and I sincerely thanked Felix. Felix looked at me with gentle eyes and smiled, saying the meaning of this thumbs up is actually congratulations on winning the bid. I screamed in excitement and jumped towards Felix. Felix caught me as I rushed towards him and spun me around in the air. I hadn't slept well for a whole month because of this bid. I looked at the lounge behind me and then turned to look at Felix. We walked towards the stage outside together. My company, my future. I'll have a bright future ahead, I thought silently in my heart. After that, my career really took off and flourished. After I said those harsh words last time, Lawrence never looked for me again. At first, I was worried that he would hold a grudge and take revenge on me in business. Now it seems that he's not that childish. Once I got busy, all kinds of festivals, big or small, had nothing to do with me. It wasn't until there was a large bouquet of roses on my desk that I realized today was actually Valentine's Day. But who would send me flowers? I looked up at my assistant in confusion. He also shrugged, indicating that he didn't know. This moment Felix came over. When he saw such a large bouquet of roses, he exclaimed, "Wow, Summer, you're so popular." I quickly stopped Felix from continuing. Since I got to know him better, I realized that his previous cold and noble demeanor was all an act. He's actually a lascivious man who talks nonsense all the time. To prevent him from teasing me further, I quickly distributed the flowers to the girls in the office. After I finished, I sat down and looked at my phone, finding a message from an unknown phone number. "Did you receive the flowers? Do you like them?" I replied in confusion. "Who are you?" But the other party didn't reply anymore. After work in the evening, as soon as I walked out of the company, I saw a cool sports car parked downstairs. Sitting in the car was none other than Lawrence. "What are you doing here?" I asked in confusion. "I came to visit my former assistant company, and by the way, see how you're doing." At this moment, I also guessed who had sent that bouquet of roses. I didn't plan to have any more entanglement with Lawrence, and I turned around about to leave. But Lawrence grabbed me, looking wronged as if someone had bullied him. "Do you want to have dinner together?" Calmly, before I could say the words to refuse, Felix appeared in a timely manner and pulled my hand back from Lawrence's. "President Lawrence, President Summer already has an appointment tonight." Lawrence didn't cause any more trouble either. When I left in Felix's car, I could only see that he was still standing there watching us leave. I don't know if Lawrence was unwilling to accept the situation. He only realized his feelings later and started to pursue me vigorously. He frequently appeared in my company, sometimes even more often than my partner Felix. A large bouquet of roses was delivered to my door every week, along with all kinds of gifts, just like the ones he used to give me when I worked in his company. He tried to evoke our past memories, but it instead aroused my disgust. I refused him many times, but Lawrence said that whether I liked him or not was my business, and whether he pursued me or not was his business. I had no right to interfere. In order to please me, he even refused highly profitable business deals, and instead recommended my company. His former cronies all came to beg me to persuade Lawrence. They said that the elders of the Lawrence family were extremely angry, and wanted to take back Lawrence's real power. But Lawrence was stubborn and refused to give up until he hit a dead end. What could I do about it? When business came, I took it seriously. Felix couldn't help but scold me as a profiteer when he saw Lawrence pursuing me so fervently. Come on, he was much happier than I was when he saw the money keep flowing into the account. Later, I heard that the elders of the Lawrence family were really serious and made Lawrence kneel at home for 3 days and 3 nights. Finally, the Lawrence family found a young lady from a well-matched family to marry Lawrence. Everyone thought that things would finally calm down and everyone could live in peace. That is, if Lawrence hadn't run to my office on his wedding day. I put down the documents I was dealing with and looked at Lawrence, who was dressed in a suit, with a headache. "When on earth are you going to stop making a scene?" I returned the words that Lawrence once said to me. Now Lawrence turned a deaf ear, took out the diamond ring that was supposed to belong to someone else tonight, and knelt down on one knee to propose to me. "Summer, I was too arrogant in the past. I never noticed your silent efforts and enjoyed all your sacrifices with a clear conscience. I also always said arrogant things that hurt you. I owe you a formal apology. I'm sorry." Listening to Lawrence's words, I was a bit dazed for a moment. Leaving, taking revenge, making the dominant person regret and apologize. This was what I had most hoped for in the past. Now that I've heard it, I can't be happy about it. I know that I've grown up. I no longer allow myself to be in a subordinate position, and I won't be blindly in love anymore. Rather than love, making one more business deal will make me happier. Lawrence continued. "Summer, today was supposed to be my wedding, but when I think that my bride isn't you, I can't imagine how painful my future days will be. While there's still time, Summer, would you be willing to?" I didn't want to wait for Lawrence to finish and interrupted him immediately. "It's too late, Lawrence. When will you grow up? Running out of the wedding, are you worthy of your family and your future? Since you don't want to be bound but also don't want to put in the effort to break through and change, who can you blame? To be honest, after leaving you, I realized how big my stage is, and my future can never be limited to you. Let the past be the past. You should also move on." I raised my left hand, the ring on the ring finger of my left hand. Hand sparkled. This was carefully selected by that person, and the size was also custom-made. It was different from the ring that Lawrence casually took as a prop. Lawrence took a few steps back in pain when he saw my ring. It took him a while to blurt out, "Who is it?" At this moment, the door of the office was knocked. "Honey, are you done? Didn't we agree to have dinner together after work today?" Felix leaned against the wall as if he had no bones, and the matching couple ring on his hand caught Lawrence's eye. Lawrence felt extremely embarrassed and turned around and left. Felix immediately showed a victorious expression and gave me a mischievous smile. "Didn't you say last time that we didn't call each other husband and wife since we weren't officially married yet?" In the face of my questioning, Felix ignored it. He just turned off my computer on his own, took my hand and led me to have dinner. Sitting in the car, looking at the bustling traffic and the flow of people outside the window, the city is still prosperous. I'm no longer the humble little girl I used to be. I have grown into the leading lady of my own life. I have an upward career, I have true love, and I have an independent self.